Dude, welcome to the first episode of Conversations with Tell My Sons. This first one is with the one and only Rowan Garmon. Can we just let's do one clap for Rowan Garmon.
I just realized I was about to clap for myself. Does that make me a terrible human being?
No, dude, let's do it. Let's do it at the same time. One,
What?
2, 3.
That was synced on my end. I don't know how it felt on
okay,
yours.
okay. It counts.
Okay, yeah. I know the internet delay is just enough to be socially awkward. You know what I mean? Like, if you were in a room and somebody was that like a couple milliseconds off in the clap, you'd be like, "Is he doing okay? Does he have a couple? Is he sharing?"
Is he? Hey, you need to unpack that, dude. Like you gone through some things.
yeah. How's your heart, dude?
How's your heart? How's
You
your
doing
heart
alright?
posture? You know,
Yeah,
what was your
yeah.
heart posture when you were clapping right there? Dude, can we talk about that room for a second? Oh my
Yeah, dude.
gosh.
I just honestly I finished it this last week. I can talk more about it later, or probably by the time this will come out, it'll be kosher.
Mm.
So all these panels that you see, there's another set on this wall. It's all from a company called Massform, who I just started partnering with, and they're amazing, brilliant, very reasonably priced. They do all the cool things, but I literally just because right when we moved into this house, like a month later, we had Ollie, our third kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so I totally just pushed all my projects back. I put off building the studio.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got to the point where I was like kind of finagling projects on headphones and like, nobody come in here and look because it's like really ugly. And then finally we were doing a video shoot for Massform, like an interview thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I have to like rewire this, make it clean, beautiful, which is really how I want my space to be anyways. I want to walk in and feel at home, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So literally you're looking at the labor of like last week. I think I stayed up. No. Oh gosh, it's Friday. The shoot happened on Tuesday. I've done so many projects this week. I'm blurring.
Mm-hmm.
But I stayed up on Monday night till like 2 a.m. wiring the desk. So it like looked clean and pretty and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But it was great. But anyways, that's my long version of saying this all literally just got finished, and I could not be more in love. Like sonically, it's great. Mix. I was finishing a mix yesterday. I'll probably be wrapping around after this, and it's like, oh, it sounds good. It's like that's why you put up treatment. It makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah, it makes your life easier. There is a
Same
use
thing.
for it after all.
Yeah, I know, because you go through all the effort, and then you're like, gosh, is this worth it? And then you get up, you're like, yeah. I was just overdubbing an acoustic guitar track too. And it was like, oh my gosh, I like, even with all the fancy like studio gear and pre's and compressors and stuff like that, I'm like, I'm not really doing anything because the room sounds good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's not too dead. It's not too, I don't know. It's a really good combination of everything. I'm
That's
rabbit
sick,
trailing
man.
again. Can you tell I stayed up late mixing again last night?
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I get that grind, dude. I get that grind. No doubt. No doubt. Well, dude, I wanted to, okay. So to kick this off, I want to ask you, I want you to do like a little brief introduction to who Rowan Garmon is. Like, how did you get started producing and mixing? Like, how long have you been doing it? Like, kind of like a little overview of how it kind of started.
So 7 years ago.
Back in the 50s.
Yeah. It was a cold winter's evening.
It was
and I was born like many other children. No, I kid. So hopefully you guys heard that email notification.
Yeah,
No,
we're keeping that in.
Yeah, we're keeping it. Hopeful. Honestly, I actually kind of grew up in the studio. So my dad's an audio engineer.
Okay.
So some of my earliest memories are, and he mainly did like post-production. Like he started in music and then kind of got like a real job when I was really little. But even that was still like, really great, beautiful spaces. So like literally some of my earliest memories was like he was just finishing up work. There was a logistic where my mom had to like, we went to the studio to see him at the end of the day or something like that and pick him up.
Mm-hmm.
And just to keep me entertained so he could finish his session, he literally put me in front of a a patch bay that was decommissioned. And so I would sit there with tiny TRS cables and would just plug them in and out. And that's like legitimately one of my first memories.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's a huge blessing. Learned a lot from him, and then in my early 20s started, doing the artist thing, started playing out a lot, started making friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so probably for a decade ago, so like early mid 20s, I kind of came back to falling in love with that whole process. And I don't know, because for me, I discovered music because my dad always had recording stuff. So he had like a little home studio as well. So he could like go to a studio in Atlanta, then he could come home and do stuff. Again, post-production, so I think like commercials. And I would totally abuse him, like, can I plug a guitar into this? So like in a way, the studio feels like the most natural expression of music to me. And I love live, but like I'm very at home in this environment. So yeah, and then 20s started just playing for other people and for myself. And then really probably, I don't know, somewhere around mid 20s, really doubled down on the producing thing and started getting asked to do more records and projects. Did some fun stuff for like TV and film. But since then, it's really just like, make friends. And if music happens, awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I'm here for the vibes. I'm here for the hangs. And I don't know. I just feel like it's been a really fun journey.
That's awesome, dude. And then you're about to do your own stuff too. You and Megan, right?
Yeah. So my wife and I have a project coming out. I'll reveal more details on that later. We've had a couple of iterations.
We got the inside scoop.
We've had a couple of iterations. But yeah, we have a project, for those of you who are just seeing this in the random internet ether, my wife and I have led worship and been involved in church for a very long time. And that is just honestly the most natural expression of who we are. So even though a lot of what I do is kind of regular market stuff that I very genuinely love, this project will be geared towards like churches specifically and worship. And honestly, man, I'm just really excited. The songs are really fun. I got to hire a bunch of friends to come track, and it's a cool project.
That's awesome, dude.
Should be coming this fall. We'll see when all this releases, but yeah.
I'm excited, dude. Oh my gosh.
It's gonna be fun.
Cool. That's gonna be fun. Oh my goodness. All right, dude. Well, and to kind of segue from what you're saying with church, that's actually how me and Rowan met. We met at this church called Greystone. My brother got me plugged in there, and fun fact, Rowan's actually the one who kind of guided me in terms of like tone and guitar stuff. And so whenever we started working together, it was like a full circle moment for me for sure, because I was like, this guy is like the guy that helped me out, and now I'm like working with this is crazy.
All right. To be fair, I don't feel like I really did much. Like, I want to give credit where it's due to the guy who put the 10,000 hours in.
True.
Like, so you would come and we'd play together like, I don't know, once a month.
Yeah.
Like, and and you came hungry too, man. I remember you'd be like, cool, like, what about it? Like, you would ask questions, but you know how sometimes there's like the weird people who ask questions? You're like, dude, chill out. I'm just trying to like, get through the morning. You were always like really humble and hungry at the same time. So it's really easy and like coachable. And so I don't know, man. I feel like I didn't do much. It was like, you were already like a high speed boat. All I did was like, help hit the on switch or something.
You just gave me enough. You gave me little crumbs here and there, and I was like,
Yeah. All I did was put some gas in the tank, my guy.
Put some gas. I love it. But yeah, that's. What were you saying? Sorry.
It was really cool to watch too how quickly, like, you progress with a little bit of feedback. Meg and I would give you. You'd be like, okay, cool, and then you would come back like the next month, and it would be done. It'd be like, whoa. Most of the time, people like struggle through it, or you like give them a piece of feedback, and they're like, oh, that's like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, and then they shy away, and you were like, okay, cool, and then like you'd be like, oh wow, yeah, you're like, be something like, hey, if you're doing delays, watch for this and the timing, and here's typically when you pick a dotted or a quarter or what, and the next time you'd come back and you'd like have it mastered.
Yep. I remember the first time I experimented with like dotted eighth. I was like, I pulled up that one U2 song that literally everyone
Yes, yeah.
plays, and I was like, "What, dude? What's going? This is crazy."
I am a guitar god.
Yeah. Oh, it's so funny, dude. I feel like every guitar player goes through that. They like, especially when you first start. I feel like most go through drive first and like distortions, and
Sure.
then I would say reverb kind of and delay kind of follows shortly after that. But whenever I first discovered delay, I was like, this is amazing. Oh my gosh.
Dude, and I'll say too, during the recording process, it was fun to. I mean, I know we used digital stuff, but to get into go into like the history of amps and like miking
Mm-hmm.
and like those techniques, like teaching you how to EQ with a mic placement versus just on your amp.
Yep.
And like you were like a sponge, you're like, oh my gosh.
What? So if I move the mic a little bit over here, it changes everything. Yeah, it was so cool. I'm like obsessed with that kind of stuff. It's so yeah. Do you remember how we got started working together? Do you remember that phone call?
Yeah, I'm vaguely.
So just to kind of refresh, I was kind of
Yeah,
like before we got onto this, I was just kind of like looking back on my memories mentally, and I remember
sure.
you called me one day like randomly, and I think we had talked about, maybe I like texted you something about like being interested in doing songs or something like that, and you called me like one day. Me and my wife were at the park at like our local dog park or something, and you called me out of nowhere, and I was like, and you're like, hey, I'm starting to mix and do stuff again. Like if you're interested, I'm like, and I was like, whoa, because I had just started to like actually get interested in actually making songs and trying to put something out there. And so that was a kind of like a really cool moment that I felt like um I would say it was definitely a God moment. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
whoa, wait, this is actually a
dude.
reality. You know what I mean? Like this is doable.
It's funny you say that. That's a more, in the best way possible, common thread than you would think.
Hmm.
Uh, like this, someone said this quote to me, and it's really stuck. When your gift is ready, it'll make a way.
Mm.
And so these wonderfully quote unquote serendipitous conversations tend to happen where, I try not to do this too much because I feel like the best music is just made from really natural friendships. But every now and then,
Yep.
if I see like a really, great talent, I'll reach out over Instagram, just mainly try to start a friendship as much as you can digitally.
Hmm.
And then but there's been a couple times when that happened. Like there's this guy, do you remember Evan Henry?
I think so.
Uh, he's anyways, an artist, and he was one of like the first people that was like, I legit went in, we hired out a bunch of like session players. Like we did it really right. Like I was moving out of the bedroom producer phase into like, oh, okay, I feel like I've got the proper gear to make this happen. And
Hmm. Hmm.
I just out of the blue messaged him similar to you and call, and he's like, dude, you're kidding me. I literally was just telling my wife like a couple nights ago, I've got to do this. I'm ready. I don't even know who to ask. Like, I don't want
Dang.
to Google some random person.
Yeah.
And that's probably happened to me 3 times now, where it's like more often than not, it's like some would say the universe, who would say God, just aligns it. And all of a sudden they're like, uh, how did, and like, dude, I didn't time this. Like I wasn't,
Hmm.
I just, saw some talent, and then something, there seems to be this, I don't know, it feels more than just an accident, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And to segue from that, going into the first song we ever did,
Uh-huh.
why? I want to first question for why.
Yeah.
Straight banger, dude.
Straight
But
banger.
I wanted first question going into why. I wanted to ask what you thought about whenever you first heard the song idea. Like because a lot of people have said to me, this is like probably the most common thing that people have come up to me and said is, I didn't expect that sound from you. Like a lot of people like look at me and they're like, oh, I was expecting like a beachy indie rock vibes, not like a heavy grungy kind of thing. So I was curious to know kind of what your thoughts were going into that.
Yeah, I think uh I don't know. I've met so many people and worked with so many different kinds of artists, um, that whatever seems to be in their heart, I've kind of let go of the expectations,
Mm-hmm.
and because I feel like too, really as a producer, you're in a service role.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like I do so much of like trying to let them unfold themselves
Mm-hmm.
versus like me trying. In the early years, I would try to put people in a box,
Yeah.
and so like as you started posting stuff, and because you have a great voice, and
Thank
obviously
you.
you're a killer
Thank you.
guitar player, but I think I came when we started having conversations, it just came so open handed. I mean, I maybe didn't have quite as many expectations on that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then two, based on like I don't know, your music in the best way possible feels like a really healthy cultural commentary. Like it
Mm.
just feels in the moment.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It feels like you're saying all the thoughts that we're already thinking. And
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I tapped into that so quickly, I was like so not even thinking about genre.
That's so cool. I love that.
Uh,
And
so I've been
that
stoked from
first
day one.
song, what'd you say?
I said I've just been stoked from day one.
I know. And the cool thing about that one, I feel like that one was definitely the most collaborative, like out of all three that we did, because I think
Mm-hmm.
that one started. I literally just had maybe the intro and the verse, and I sent you like a bunch of demos, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like,
I think you
which
sent me like
one?
9.
Yeah, it was like 9, and I was like, which one should we do? What do you think? And Rowan was actually the one who picked why, which I thought that was pretty cool. Like looking back, and I was just curious, what made you think, okay, why? Like out of like these 9 songs, why were you like, oh, like this one?
Uh, yeah, a couple different things. Based on all the demos, there was like clearly a sound going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like that one was really a great. Oh, hello, lawnmower. This guy is out to get me. I was trying to track acoustics earlier. I was like, I cannot do this right now.
Dude, they got
Thankfully,
lawnmowers in Montana. I didn't know that,
they
dude.
got lawnmowers in Montana. Who knew?
Who knew?
Everyone just thinks I live on a gigantic slope. There are, in fact, plains. We live in a valley. Um, uh, no, I think that the demos had a very clear sound, and so it was really easy to see what direction we needed to go. And that one to me had this beautiful juxtaposition of, okay, here's your sound. So at the gate, you come and people kind of know who you are. You're setting the tone. You can
Mm,
obviously change yourself, morph, and do things like don't. I don't ever want you to feel confined by that, but like it felt like a good representation, and the melody was powerful. It was like
yep.
we have a hook, and people think a hook, and they think like Taylor Swift pop music.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a hook is just generically anything that you can attach onto and remember.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
and so even though it's like a really hard song, it has like a great hook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people, the two main songs that people have said that it reminds them of is "Come as You Are" from Nirvana, and
Which we were intentionally going after that.
which we were, which is it's pretty cool that people caught on to that, and then also that one Metallica song. I think it might be the Sandman song. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah, yeah.
remember. Yeah, which would those were like two direct inspirations for that song, which was pretty cool. And yeah, I just love that song. That song I feel like was perfect for the first one to do, and then especially going into that little, what would you call it? That little spoken word thing.
Mm-hmm.
That like I remember whenever you suggested that at first, I was like, I don't know, dude. Like I was like, I don't know. And then like I sat on it and I started thinking about it. And I remember like whenever I was reading my Bible, I came across I think it was John 15:8 or John 8. I can't remember. But it was if the world hates you, keep in mind it hated me first. And it was
Mm-hmm.
Jesus talking
And,
about himself. And whenever I read that, I was like, what? Hold on a second.
Well, dude,
It's
and you somehow took one of the most beautiful lines in the entire Bible,
mhm.
and then you made it the most like metal thing
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
It made me happy.
Dude, oh that was so much fun. Yeah, dude, I love that one. That one is so sick. But hey, okay, so moving on. Nothing
Yeah,
left to
yeah.
say. I want to talk about that one. This one was definitely the one that made all the Costco members go crazy. Um,
Bro, you know I love Costco.
yeah, like all the white people, dude, they love this song. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
there were so many kind of poppy guys that came up to me and said how much they love this one. This one's definitely a little bit. It was more pop rock kind of.
It definitely had some 1975 vibes.
Yeah, yeah, it was really cool, and it's pretty cool how it started too, because my oldest brother Caleb came over one day and we were riding, and he had like the riff, and I was like, wait, hold on a second, play that again, and so he started playing it, and then we started messing around with it, and then that turned into like the full-fledged song. And how I kind of
Mm-hmm.
do songs is I get like the layout of kind of what I want, and then the
Mm-hmm.
lyrics and the melody like comes second. And so whenever I like kind of got that demo to a place where I felt like it was shareable, I remember I would I whenever I finish a demo, I send it to like a bunch of people, like my two older
Mm-hmm.
brothers and then a couple homies too, to like see what they think. And they were all like, dude, yeah, this one, like full send. So I remember going into Nothing Left to Say, that was kind of another that was an attempt to kind of find my sound or experiment a little bit more in terms of like, all right, what are people vibing with? What do people like? And I think this one was the best lyrically. Like it was the most
Mm-hmm.
raw lyrically, because
Definitely.
I really opened up about kind of my own personal battles, because I always, whenever I'm writing, I take like a little inspiration from myself, from like others, and sometimes I'll make things up. And so it's like this one was a lot of me and my own personal story. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about going into this one. What were like kind of your favorite moments or like highlights from Nothing Left to Say?
Yeah, I think I liked getting to see you stretch the pop muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like so many people feel a little scared to they're like, I gotta find my sound. Absolutely. I think your sound is always gonna be like you can write something that is technically a little subgenre, but it's always gonna feel like you. And
Mm-hmm.
so I
Mm-hmm.
think I just enjoyed the fact that you felt the freedom to just like, hey, we're gonna lean into what this song needs versus trying to be like, well, we gotta also like kind of like make it secretly hard.
Yep. Yep.
It was like, I mean, yeah, we're gonna make some like killer drums that are like punch in the face,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I just think I enjoyed how much we were able to just let it be and embrace that thing.
Yeah. I think
Um,
we served the song really well with that one.
yes,
I
yeah,
loved like how we experimented a lot with synth stuff too, which was like so cool. We brought people in like I played a little bit, you played a little bit, and Cameron Connor played a lot of it. And that was
yeah.
just so much fun
Cameron did the heavy
seeing.
lifting.
Yeah, dude, that was so much fun seeing such a pro just kind of like take the reins, and he's like, "Oh, what about this?" And then there were some times where I would be like, "What if we did like a wee wee wee?" And Cameron's like, "All right, I got you." And he like couple seconds, he's like a little like scientist just like cooking up on his
I know.
laptop, and then like out of nowhere he has the exact sound I was thinking. I was like, "This is crazy." But yeah, that
Dude,
one was really fun in terms of like trying to find that sound and all that. But
so Zach Smith, who played bass on that song, and he's a
hmm
dear friend of mine. That's part of why I love using him so much. Is I can do that on guitar if you just like hum a melody, like yeah, let's just do this.
hmm
Uh, but that's what I've noticed. I'm like, hey Zach, can you kind of like do something where it's like descending, like doom, and he's like, and then it'll I'll be like, yeah, I'm generically like throwing paint at the wall. I'm not trying to give him the exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
And 9 times out of 10, I realized what I appreciate about him. He's like, I was like, dude, that was it. That was sick. What did you do? He's like, I literally just played the exact thing that you hummed. I'm like, oh no, I'm not trying to be like the guy that's like, you have to play this note. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
if that's the case, I'll just play bass, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I think that is something that the greats really can do well, is the second you're like, whether it's as specific as like, I'm going for notes like this and harmonies like this, or it's as generic as like, can you make me feel sad but optimistic? And they go
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and throughout this all like making these songs, it was super cool cuz I remember at first like the idea of like collaborating and hiring on people was very like scary to me cuz
Totally.
I was like, dude, what if these people hate my stuff? Or like what if they I guess the fear is always like, oh, they're gonna kind of tell you kind of what you need to do as opposed to serve the song or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
just kind of letting anxiety get the best of me. And you kind of really coached me in that regard to kind of let down my walls in a sense and allow people to like have their say or have their take, because it's like you never know, they could bring something to the table and it's like, oh, it changes the whole trajectory of the song and it ends up being sick. And so that's kind of a big thing I would say taking away from this is allowing, like, even if it's someone that's been playing guitar for like a day, you know, I mean, it's like,
Absolutely.
and it's,
If they've got the best idea.
I mean, like, and they have an idea, it's like, why not? You know, the worst that can happen is we say no. And so,
Sure, man.
yeah, but that was probably my biggest takeaway, especially with nothing left to say and all that. But yeah, okay. Getting into the final, most recent one, I want to cover this one a lot. I Won't Be a Slave, dude. I can't tell you how many people have been coming up to me and saying how much they feel like this is my sound. Like, this is it for Tell My Sons. And dude, that playing that one live
must be sick.
It goes crazy. I did a housewarming party a couple days ago, and there was like 100 people there, and we did like a whole like hour set. And dude, it was like whenever we got to that one, everyone was like, what on earth? It was so much fun, dude. So the cool thing about this one, before we dive further, is it actually started with the guitar riff, the little dun 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 dun. And I remember I had come up with that guitar riff, and then my brother-in-law, a lot of people don't know this, my brother-in-law Andres, he plays guitar as well. And sometimes I'll just have like homies over, like it doesn't matter like who they are, like I'll just have them over and like, hey, this is like kind of what I'm doing right now, you have any ideas? And so we started messing with things, and we kind of like dialed it all in. And to be honest with you, I can't remember how we ended up doing I Won't Be a Slave after Nothing Left to Say. I think it was just like we just kind of picked those two. But I wanted to kind of break that one down, especially that outro. I've actually gotten a lot of questions about like the vocal effects and kind of like the different layers and everything of like how we did it, how you did it, especially with the like what is it, like the tremolo kind of thing that you were doing? Like, how would you describe that outro?
Yeah. This outro has been brought to you by Sound Toys.
Let's go, dude.
Is a plugin company. Man, a couple different things. To sound so generic, and I hate it when people do this in music interviews because I watch a lot because I'm always trying to learn something. They're like, I don't know, I just kind of messed around with stuff.
Yeah. That's literally me, by the way. Yeah. That's literally me with anything I do.
Yeah, but I think sometimes people get. It's so funny. Well, as much as I love watching that sort of stuff, it's like sometimes ignorance is the most beautiful thing. Like, I'm about to rabbit trail. To answer the question, I actually made that whole outro in Ableton, which I normally, for those who care, for the 5 people who even know what a digital audio workstation is, I typically work in a program called Pro Tools. I shifted over to Ableton, which is where I like doing my drum programming a lot of times because you can morph loops and do things quicker. So a lot of it was automating the vocal effects, and then just literally like printing, and then how can I mess something up as much as possible. So like I think it's a loose inspiration. I was watching a Phineas interview with Billie Eilish. That main one, that kind of sounds like garbled, or you can't even recreate it with your own voice. I was gonna try to do it. And I saw him do that with it's a really crapped out tremolo.
Okay.
And so I saw him do that in an interview because it's like very haunting sounding. And I knew we wanted something like that. Like I wanted something out of left field. So I did that. And then I also wanted to play with perspective because we're already in something new. So I automated a lot of like the reverb. So I'd have like a vocal come in where like shout and be really reverb. That main one was sitting here in the center. And then like there'd be something that would hit with a delay and then jump out. So yeah, it was mainly automating delays, reverbs, and then that tremolo. I think it's called Tremolator. And it was a totally Phineas / Billie Eilish riff. And honestly, I'm really stoked with how that turned out. I auditioned a lot of different loops and sounds, just coming from Splice, nothing too fancy. But just until it had to feel industrial early 2000s. It had to hit really hard, so I was looking for loops that had a lot of attack to it, like I needed to feel a lot of teeth. And I didn't want it to just feel like a typical pop thing, so just like typical like 808s with like an 808 snare. As much as I love that, there's a place, and I love like a good just like 808 clap. It needed to feel the song was so angsty, and we've been, like I said, leaning to so many of those like early 2000s, late 90s influences. I was like, it has to sound like I'm in some terrible club in Germany.
That's amazing.
I don't know. I heard it in my head really early on. I was like, I just hope he likes this.
Dude, I feel like that outro was like, whenever you sent it over, it was pretty much there. And I remember because I was like blown away, like all the different layers and everything you put into it. And originally, like when we did the outro, it was just me saying, I won't be a slave. And that was it.
Remember too, I wasn't for it at first. Remember, I was kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, I think we should do this. We go back into the hook.
Yep. That's actually how the outro came to be. Is Rowan really wanted to go back in the chorus, which I was not opposed, but I was just like, I don't know. I just wasn't seeing it. We were going back and forth, and I was like, what about an outro? And they were like, okay. And then that's how we got there. And I remember whenever you sent it over, I was like, oh, okay. All right. And then I remember I was being dumb. Like my wife, Anna, was in the room, and I was just like playing it over and over again. And I was just riffing. Megan!
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. Oh,
sorry. Keep doing your thing. Okay, bye.
That's awesome, dude. Caught in 4K, bro. Caught in 4K.
For real.
Caught in 4K. 4K. That's awesome. Dude. But yeah, and then I was just being dumb, like in front of her, and I started like riffing over it, and I started like rapping, and I was like, wait, hold on a second. I was like, what if I rapped, dude? I don't know if you'd classify it as a rap or something. And I just started like kind of spitballing, and then I put that together, and then I was like, I sent it to you, and I was like, what if we did this? And you were like, I can't remember your response. What was your response to that? Because I feel like up until that point, Nothing Left to Say had no sort of like talking fast type thing, like Beastie Boys kind of thing.
I actually have an answer for this.
Yeah.
So I was talking to a mutual friend of ours the other day, Trevor Tyson.
Rep the shirt, dude. Heal the hurt,
bro, yeah.
dude.
You know the guy. And so we've been toying with some stuff together. And I was asking, we were doing some writing, and I'm demoing out some stuff. I was like, hey, just tell me about, like, how do you want to feel? What's the cadence? Like, I just need like a little bit of demo so I can make some things happen. And somewhere in that conversation, we got talking about the fact that one of the major things that metal and rap have in common is, yes, they're both really hard, high energy music, but screaming is atonal, as is rap, so it's all about your rhythm.
Okay.
So since so much of your music, even though you don't typically scream, but your guitars really take a heavy influence from a lot of metal music.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like you're only 2 steps away from that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're already basically doing like a subgenre of metal music that happens to have some really great melodies, right?
Yep.
And then from metal to hip hop or anything in that kind of urban world, again, I think is actually a smaller jump than people realize, even though the instrumentation is wildly different. They have more commonality than people, I think, realize.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you sent that to me, it felt right. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I see like sister genres, and I couldn't explain it at first until that conversation with Trevor. I'm like, that's why that, because I never had a moment when you sent that to me. I was like, I don't know, man, this is like not your sound or your thing. It was just like, this is kind of sick. Let's roll with it.
You know what I mean? It's kind of cool, dude.
and I think too, you do such a great job, Joseph, of, and this is what I really struggle with a lot of first time artists. So if you're a first time out there, let me speak to you directly. You have to believe in yourself, and you have to commit to what you're doing. And that's something you've done since day one. Even your demo vocals, you're like, all right, I'm going in, I'm giving, and yes, we'll go track with in nice studios and do the things, but like, your heart is in it from the get-go, and you can tell when somebody brings a timid self to the thing. You know what I mean? So like, massive credit to you, because the rap worked because you were just like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, dude, thank you for saying that, man. Yeah, it's definitely, it's interesting, and this kind of goes back to whenever they listen to my music, and before, like when people meet me and then they listen to my music, and whenever people say, oh, I didn't really expect that, is I feel like with my music, it's very aggressive. And like, I'm actually like, in terms of like my emotions and how I convey myself, it's so interesting how it was just like a natural thing to kind of fall into this like this aggressive rock kind of thing. And it was just like really cool, like finding out that part of myself, because it wasn't really something that I was like, all right, I'm going into this thinking I'm going to be like this, and this is my, and to be honest with you, I've just been figuring it out as I go. And I'm just like letting my ear guide me. And it's just, it's so interesting, because it's kind of revealed parts of myself that I didn't really realize. Is like, I'm personally like a really big, my emotions are very strong. That's something I have to like regularly kind of keep in check. And so it was funny whenever I first started kind of getting into this, and like, oh, I'm actually like, this is actually pretty aggressive. I'm sharing my feelings, this is going crazy. But yeah, that was, that's been probably the coolest part of like doing music, is kind of discovering that part of myself and figuring it out as I go, but.
Well, dude, can I speak into that?
Yes.
So this is why I think hard music has such a good place in people's hearts, and I think it's actually really healthy. So to quote the famous Brene Brown, typically what we like to do with humans and our emotions is we say this is the spectrum of everything you can feel. Well, when you hit something hard in life, you're like, well, I'm going to cut off the happy feel, or like, I'm going to cut off that hard feeling. I don't want to feel that. I can't think about this. This is too painful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the downside is, say if this is the hard stuff in your life and this is the happiness, when you cut off the hard stuff, you then also cut off your capacity to experience joy.
Yeah. Yep.
And so what I think a lot of whatever genre of hard music it is, be it, something more in the urban world or more like what you're doing where it's kind of like got that, metal vibe, it gives people the permission to be angry, to be sad, to feel what's really going on. In a lot of ways, like, even sometimes goes deep as like grieving, you know what I mean? And going through a process. And I think that's why, honestly, a lot of metal people you meet are like really kind and kind of gentle.
Dude, it's so funny you say that because that is so true.
Right?
That is so true. Like every single person that's like I've met that's like really into metal and like, yeah, I would even say screamo. They're like the most kind, genuine people. And I'm like,
yes, totally.
What? And then they're like, hey, is it cool if I play some music? Yeah, totally, man. And the next thing you know, I'm like, what? It's awesome, dude. Oh,
yeah, because they're finding a beautiful way to cope.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I think most people just don't, and they just kind of go through life a little bit like numb. I don't know. That makes me sad for them.
Yeah. Well, dang, dude, that was a beautiful way to kind of end it, man. Dude. Oh my gosh, this conversation was awesome. I'm so glad you.
Dude, before we wrap, can I ask you one last question?
Oh yes. I'm so sorry. Yes.
No, you're good.
If you have any questions, dude, fire away.
Yeah, and I'll keep it brief. Well, let me start with this. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, the music making process is emotionally vulnerable and a roller coaster. What do you feel like you discovered in yourself in that process through these last handful of songs?
Man, it's been, I've kind of going back to what I was saying about kind of discovering how strong of a feeler I am. It was definitely, it helped. Music is so funny in this way. Throughout like writing these songs and putting them out, it's been like perfect timing with what was like going on in my life. And it wasn't even like intentional. Like I didn't intentionally like, oh, I'm going to put this one out because this is what I'm feeling. And it's helped me find a way to kind of, like we were saying, with the metal people being the most genuine and kind people, is like, it's helped me find a way to cope and express myself and allow a certain level of expression that I didn't realize I needed. Like you were saying with people walking around being numb, it's like, I guess for the longest time before I started putting out music and I started actually diving into these songs and like expressing myself, I kind of realized, wow, there was a lot that I hadn't dealt with yet. And it just kind of revealed a lot of internal hurt, a lot of internal struggle that came to the surface. And it was very cool because, and I'm gonna get a little spiritual with it because
Please,
that's the whole reason why I do music, is to glorify God. And so it's my relationship with God, and I'm sure he's like this with you as well and everyone, is I'm very hard on myself. Like I'm the most critical of myself whenever I mess up, whenever I do something good, all of the above. And so most of the time, like whenever I do shows or whenever I make a song, it's like I'm usually thinking, okay, well, what can I do better? As opposed to kind of, my mind naturally gravitates towards that as opposed to just enjoying the moment. And so my recently, like, and through these songs, like it's really helped me, like I was saying, with unpacking a lot of things. It's helped me, and I feel like it was God kind of showing me, hey, this is here. It's always been here. I'm here to walk you through it. I'm here to hold your hand through it. And it was a very kind and loving way, because growing up, I didn't have the best father, and so I always had this idea of like, and I don't remember when I picked this up, that like I can't fail, like I can't mess up, and if I do, it's like the end of the world. And it was so interesting, like through this journey, whenever I would mess up, God would always respond in a love and kind way. It was never like, dude, what are you doing? You know, it was like, look at this loser. You know what I mean? It was never like that. It was like, hey, like, I love you. And I'm so proud of you still. But you got to get up and you got to keep going. Or it was, I did it on my own strength. And he was like, hey, man, what you doing? Like, I'm here for you. I'm better at it.
Making this hard.
Yeah, give me the guitar.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm being genuine, and this kind of goes back to the I don't know if you ever seen this, like the Michael Jackson quote where he says something along the lines of like allowing God, or maybe it was Jack White. I think it was Jack White, where it was like you reach a point in a song where you allow God into the picture, and like he just kind of takes the rest. And I feel like genuinely that's what happens with most of these songs. Like I am not the greatest musician in the world. I'm not the greatest guitar player. I'm definitely not the greatest singer. And it's so funny, like the songs I've been able to come up with, even though I've only been doing music for like 3 or 4 years. And it's just been this kind of God thing. Like I don't know how else to explain it. Like it's really just like an extension of what he's doing in my life, you know? And I hope through my music that people can see that and see, hey, well, like I deal with the same things as you, and I'm finding healing, I'm finding direction, I'm finding purpose with my relationship through Christ. And that's like my whole hope for everything that I do in terms of music, and honestly my whole life, is that my life would be a testimony of his goodness. So yeah, that's how I would kind of long answer that question.
No, it's not a simple one. So honestly, I would have been surprised. And you're like, I don't know, man. I just, made a couple new chords. Felt good. You're like, oh, okay, cool. I like having like every time Megan and I have to write music or come out with new stuff, I go through like an identity crisis. So, and this
how is that writing together? How is that? How do you guys vibe really well with like writing and stuff?
I would say first 5 or 6 years of our marriage, we didn't. And then about close to 2 years ago, a buddy of mine recommended this incredible book called Working Genius.
Okay.
So it's kind of like all the Myers-Briggs and Enneagram stuff, but it's more work specific. So it's not supposed to be like, Enneagram can be great if you're in a conversation with friends that you trust. I feel like it's weird in a work environment to talk about your daddy issues.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so anyways, like Meg and I realized how differently we approach things from a work perspective. So like sometimes I bring her a song idea. I'd be like, I don't know if it should be about like this or like should be like more from like this angle. And I'm trying to figure out the perspective. And she's like, cool. I just want to make sure it feels good live. I'd be like, yeah, like I want to make sure it feels good live too, but like I don't even know what the song's about. And so what I learned is I think really big picture. I love a whiteboard. I love the beginning and ideation. And I've learned really to lean in that on the producing aspect. Like every time I get to the end of a project, it's the bane of my existence.
Yeah.
And then the conversations early on where I'm asking like, what's your inspiration? Who are you? Like that discovery process is my favorite. So anyways, and Megan's the opposite in the best way possible. She was like, it stresses me out to have to start from a whiteboard. And she's like, I love to take things across the finish line.
Yeah. Okay.
And so in the converse side of that, there'd be times where she'd be like in the weeds, a song is almost done. I'm like, well, what if instead about it being like a breakup song, because of the melody, you could make it like a worship tune, or I would totally just like blow the whole thing up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I'd be, and you do need that in certain parts of songwriting where like when you're early on, you can just move and be mobile and see where it takes you.
100%.
And so I think since we've now in the last couple of years found that marriage of like being hyper aware of each other's like strengths and that of like, hey, okay, cool. are we in a big picture convo, or are we like getting into the weeds? And it's never a fully clean line. Like,
yeah.
So we've really started finding our ways with that, but it took a lot of time, to be honest, because you also can't disassociate your marriage ever.
Yeah.
Like, but it has been so beautiful in the last year. We've been cranking songs out, like, especially we just feel like we have found like our flow. Like, she'll just bring me a lyric idea, and then like literally one of the songs that's gonna be on the set of stuff releasing in the fall, she brought me a set of lyrics, and I think we had the song finished in like an hour or two.
Dang, dude, that's so cool. I love when that happens.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. All right, let me ask you one more question. I know you probably, we both probably need to wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
So, you talked about kind of what the self-discovery process was like for you during your personal music making journey. For somebody who is like kind of like you, kicking tires, they're starting to have conversations with their friends, their spouse, family, whoever, about like, I think I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where to start or how. Like, what would you speak? So imagine Rowan hasn't called you yet to be like, hey man, is this even on your heart? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What would you say to that person who's just starting to discover that might exist in them?
Man, I'd probably say just like surrender, dude. Like, surrender it. Like, it's like I said, like going into it, I was very like tight knit. Like, I gotta hold on. This is what I want to do, and I would just say like the biggest thing is just like let the people speak into it. Let everyone like show them your ideas and let them add to it. It's like, because it was like a mind shift change, because I at first I had this like, well, they want to pick apart my song, when in reality it's like, well, it actually makes a song way better whenever you collaborate and you have different perspectives, and you have, oh, this person is really strong at bass, and I'm like, I can play bass, but it's like I'm not like the greatest. And so it's like having someone that's sick at bass brings the song to the next level. And it's like building blocks. You're like, okay, I can only take it this far, but then if I collaborate and delegate, I can take it all the way up here. And so that was a big thing, learning and realizing, is it takes a village. Like like I can do the artist thing on my own 100%. Anyone could. You could do it on your own 100%. But if you really want it to be successful, this is my opinion, this is what I've learned. If you want it to be successful, if you want it to be like a long-term thing, you got to find like what you're strong at, what you're, what you love doing. And bro, bring in the people that are, you don't necessarily like to do that. Bring in people that love doing that, because it's like that just adds like a whole new perspective, a whole new atmosphere to it. Because, dude, to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of getting into the nitty gritty of like EQing, compressing, and mixing. I'm like, dude, I have this vision. How quick can I get this vision on this DAW? How quick can I get it on the Logic? Or how quick can I get it from my head onto a screen? That's what I'm always thinking. But another thing I'm really strong at is like visual stuff. So like,
which is huge.
I love like, and I'm getting better and better. Still not the best. Like, I love thinking about visuals and like camera stuff and like editing and doing that kind of thing. And my really good buddy Josh Barrero is like the guy that helps me out with a lot of that, and he's coached me a lot in terms of that kind of stuff. But it's like, that's something that I've slowly realized, oh, I actually really love to do this. And so it's like finding those things that you're good at, you love, and then like delegate kind of the rest. And not to say like you can't touch the rest or have your hand in.
And you
should 100%. It's just, if you want, because you always want to protect that passion. You want to protect that core. Man, I love doing music. You want to protect that, because I feel like down the road, and this is for anything, it's you want to always try your best to protect it, to stay passionate about it, because the world will come for that and they'll try and steal it and take it away. So yeah, that's kind of what I would say in a nutshell.
Okay, so one last tiny question.
Let's do it.
And then so you talked about that whole like realizing, and just so you know, dude, you're not alone. It's really hard to have this song that feels like a child that you're like raising, you've been fostering. It's this really tender relationship, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're sending it off to school with all these session players and producers and all this different thing. And you can cognitively know all you want that that's the right decision. That doesn't mean that you're not crying on the first day of school.
Yeah.
And I say this because, my oldest goes to kindergarten this fall, and I'm already like,
that is crazy.
I'm not. I know. You remember when he was little.
That is crazy. I feel old, bro. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. So, like, one, you're not alone in that. Honestly, it takes a little while to get used to that process. What was the moment that started to shift for you? Like, if you could help somebody make that realization for themselves so they can go into the project with a little bit more ease, you know what I mean? What was that moment when you realized, or what helped you shift to be able to see, oh my gosh, I need a village. I need people that can help me make this music, visual, whatever it is. Like, what helped you be at peace with that and not feel so, like, to where it no longer felt like, oh my gosh, I'm like, giving up this whole thing and it's going to be miserable, to like it being a gift, Now, like when I drop, I say that when I first started taking my oldest son to preschool, I was like really emotional about it.
Yeah.
And then, but now when I drop him off, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have 3 hours with one less kid. It's great. Megan and I are going to get work done. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But the first day is really hard. So like, if you could emotionally speak to somebody taking their quote unquote kid to the first day of school, but it's their music, and then they're coming to work with someone like me or session players or a mixer, or whatever it is, there's no human being can make anything worthwhile. And like I bring people in. Like, I can play a lot of instruments and I can do a lot of things. I choose to my guitar is my main instrument. I will still hire out guitar players.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean? Because I think it's better to do things in community and with perspective. So this is really long, but the question is, what would you speak into that first time artist in terms of helping them feel at peace with some of that release?
Dude, the biggest thing with me, I feel like whenever I kind of hit that place of like, okay, yeah, this is the route to take, of like collaborating in the community and like kind of allowing people to join in on the thing, is like, or the song is, I feel like whenever we finished it, after I kind of saw the outcome, I tried my best to be patient and like see it through and be open. But whenever I saw the outcome, because I remember the going through why, that was the most challenging for me mentally, because you pushed me a lot in terms of like, well, what if we did this? And like, oh, what if we tried this? And it was like, I remember there was moments where I was like, dang, dude, but I was like, I thought this was good, but like, let's keep going. And then I kept pushing and like trying to find it. And when we would find it, it turned out being way better than it was originally. And so I think whenever we finished Why, and we got to that finish line of like, dang, this was the outcome of actually taking this route, I feel like that was whenever I hit the moment of like, okay, this is it. This is how you're supposed to do it. Because I remember going into it just like, dude, it is so overwhelming. The idea of having to do everything on your own. Like, it's even now with like the community and like having people helping out, and kind of the route I've taken with like a lot of the music side of things, I have a lot of people come in and help out. It still can be overwhelming sometimes. And so it's like, dude, like going back to what I said, whatever you can do to hand off things and delegate to people you trust and you love,
Agreed.
It is the way to go. Because it sucks doing it on your own. It does. It's like, why would you make it harder on yourself, you know? And so, yeah, I feel like whenever we finished Why, that was like whenever I was like, oh yeah, this is full send it, dude. Let's go.
Yeah, I think it's the self-made man is a bit of a lie. Like no one,
yes,
like everyone, no matter how much you think you did it yourself, on some level, somebody helped you out along the way.
Yep.
Whether it was a partnership or even if it's like a service you paid for or something like that. It's like at some point somebody like did something along the lines of like, hey, I really believe and I want to help this person. It's like, I don't know. What you're saying really resonates with me because I've even had to do that. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to let go of this illusion that I'm trying to do it by myself and just admit that I need people around me.
Yep.
Oh,
dude,
man,
it really, and it really changes the game. Like it, allowing people to come in and kind of, and help and push you and support you too. It's just been like it's kind of set like a huge fire in me personally. It's been very inspiring. Like I just allowing people to kind of be in your corner. It just really changes the game. It really does. It really does.
It does, man. Well, dude, I don't need to keep you any longer, and I need to go finish a mix, unfortunately. Because I could hang out and talk with you pretty much all day.
Yeah, literally, dude. Oh, my goodness. Is there... So, signing off, closing out, is there anything you'd like to say or any, like, closing quote, Rowan Garmon, for the people? Or anything you'd like to plug too. I don't know. I don't know.
No. Two things. One, if you're an artist saying this, believe in yourself, you can do this. And two, I think I'd like to just speak to you, Joseph. I'm really proud of you, man. You are stepping into a season. I've watched you stretch and grow and move past what you felt like you could do on your own. And it has been beautiful to even be a small part of that journey, man. Like just to see you believe in yourself in the way the rest of us around you do has been really powerful, man. And I just am stoked to see what happens next.
Dude, you're gonna make me cry. Oh my goodness. Well, oh man, I love you, dude. This has been so awesome. Well, all right. I don't know how to close this off. I don't know how to sign it off. But yeah, it was fun. Hopefully y'all had fun as well. And love y'all. Peace. It's just a matter of time.